She whispered, "You don't know what I am," but he stayed anyway. Here's why. Marcus Kane wiped the sweat from his forehead as he monitored the incoming meteor storm from his control station. The remote mining outpost floated in the darkness between star systems, far from any civilized world. He had chosen this isolation deliberately after losing his crew in a pirate attack 3 years ago. Solitude was safer than losing people he cared about. The storm intensified, sending debris crashing against the station's shields. Warning lights flashed red across his control panels. Marcus adjusted the power settings, routing energy from non-essential systems to the defensive barriers. He had weathered storms like this before, but something felt different tonight. A proximity alarm shrieked through the station. Marcus's eyes widened as he spotted an object on his scanners, too large to be debris, too small to be a ship. It was falling fast, trailing fire as it descended toward the asteroid field below. Without thinking, he grabbed his environmental suit and headed for the docking bay. The rescue pod cut through space with Marcus at the controls. Fighting against the storm's fury, chunks of rock and ice pelted his small craft as he navigated toward the crash site. Through the chaos, he spotted the wreckage half buried in an asteroid surface. The hole was unlike anything he had seen before, made of a dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Marcus anchored his pod and activated his magnetic boots. The asteroid's weak gravity barely held him as he approached the wreckage. Part of the hull had cracked open, revealing a soft blue glow from within. His heart pounded as he peered inside and saw her. She was unconscious, curled in what appeared to be an emergency pod. Her skin had a pale lavender hue that shimmered in the blue light, and her hair flowed like liquid silver around her shoulders. She was beautiful in a way that seemed almost impossible, yet clearly not human. Blood seeped from a wound on her arm where a twisted metal had cut her. Marcus reached in carefully and touched her shoulder. Her eyes snapped open, revealing irises of deep violet that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. She flinched away from him, pressing herself against the back of the pod. "Please," he said softly, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "I want to help you." She studied his face through the helmet's visor, her expression mixing fear with something like resignation. When she spoke, her voice carried musical tones he had never heard before, yet somehow he understood her words. "You should leave me here," she whispered. "You don't know what I am." Marcus looked at her bleeding arm, then back into those extraordinary eyes. "I know you're hurt and alone. That's enough." For a long moment, they stared at each other across the vast gulf between their species. The storm raged around them, but in that small space, time seemed suspended. Finally, she extended a trembling hand toward him. "My name is Zara," she said, as he helped her from the wreckage. "I'm Marcus," he replied, wrapping his thermal blanket around her shoulders. "And you're safe now," as he carried her back to his rescue pod. Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would change everything. The woman in his arms was clearly more than she appeared, and her warning echoed in his mind. Whatever secrets she carried, he had already made his choice. He wouldn't abandon her to die alone in the cold emptiness of space. The journey back to his station felt both eternal and too brief. Zara remained conscious but silent, watching him with those mesmerizing eyes. When they reached the docking bay, Marcus sealed the airlock and removed his helmet. Zara gasped softly as she saw his face clearly for the first time. "You really mean to help me?" she said, wonder coloring her voice. "I gave you my word," Marcus replied, lifting her gently. "Now, let's get you somewhere warm and safe." The medical bay's soft lighting cast gentle shadows as Marcus cleaned Zara's wounds. Her blood was a fascinating shade of purple that seemed to glow faintly, and her skin felt cooler than human flesh but incredibly smooth. She watched his every movement with intense focus, as if memorizing each gesture. "Where I come from," she said quietly. "Strangers don't show kindness without expecting something in return." Marcus paused in his work, meeting her gaze. "And where exactly do you come from?" Zara looked away, her jaw tightening. "A world called Nixira in the Veil Nebula. We are known as the Nexari, and we are taught from birth that emotions are weakness. Compassion is considered a disease that must be purged." "That sounds lonely," Marcus said, applying a healing patch to her arm. "Lonely is a concept we don't acknowledge," she replied, but her voice held a note of sadness. We are warriors bred for conquest and expansion. Personal connections compromise the collective strength. Marcus finished tending her wounds and sat back. Then why were you alone in that escape pod? Zara's hands clenched into fists. Because I committed the ultimate transgression. I fell in love. The words hung between them like a confession. Marcus felt his chest tighten with an emotion he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Here was someone who had risked everything. For love, while he had run away from it after losing his crew. What happened? He asked gently. I loved a fellow warrior named Thane. We tried to hide our feelings, but the Council of Minds discovered our bond. Emotions are monitored constantly. On Nexira, they executed him and sentenced me to exile. Her voice cracked slightly. I stole a ship and fled, but they damaged my engines before I could escape cleanly. Marcus reached out instinctively and covered her hand with his. The contact sent a jolt through both of them. Zara stared at their joined hands in amazement. Your touch, she whispered. It's so warm. Oh, Nexira, we don't engage in physical contact except for combat or reproduction. I'm sorry, Marcus said, starting to pull away. No, Zara said quickly, tightening her grip on his hand. Please don't. I've never felt anything like this before. They sat in silence, hands intertwined, as something profound passed between them. Marcus found himself studying the delicate features of her face. The way her silver hair caught the light, the vulnerability she tried so hard to hide. Why did you save me? She asked. You could have left me to die and avoided whatever trouble I might bring. Marcus considered the question. 3 years ago, I lost my entire crew to pirates. I've been running from connections ever since, afraid of losing people I care about again. But when I saw you in that wreckage, hurt and alone, I couldn't walk away. Even knowing I'm not human, especially knowing that, he said with a small smile, maybe we're both refugees from our own kind. Zara lifted their joined hands and studied his fingers intertwined with hers. The council taught us that other species are inferior, that only Nexar possess true strength. But you've shown me more courage in one day than most of my people display in a lifetime. Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks. I'm not brave. Just a salvager hiding from the universe. You rescued me from certain death and are tending my wounds, despite not knowing if I'm dangerous. If that isn't bravery, I don't know what is. She leaned closer, and Marcus caught a scent like starflowers and ozone. His pulse quickened as she studied his face with those incredible violet eyes. Marcus, she said softly, I want to understand. These feelings you humans accept so readily, will you teach me? Teaching someone to feel might be the most dangerous thing I've ever attempted, he replied. But he was already leaning toward her. Then we'll learn together, she whispered. Their faces were inches apart now, and Marcus could feel the cool whisper of her breath against his skin. Whatever happened next would change them both forever. 3 days had passed since Zara's arrival, and the mining station felt transformed. Marcus found himself looking forward to each moment with her, watching as she discovered simple human pleasures like the taste of coffee or the warmth of a hot shower. Her wonder at these everyday experiences reminded him of beauty he had forgotten existed. Zara sat cross-legged on his bed, wearing one of his oversized shirts that fell to her knees. Her silver hair cascaded over her shoulders as she examined. A small flower he had grown in the station's hydroponic bay. On Nexira, she told him, there were no decorative plants, only functional crops. It serves no purpose except beauty, she mused, twirling the stem between her fingers, yet looking at it makes me feel peaceful. That is its purpose, Marcus said, settling beside her. Sometimes beauty for its own sake is enough. And she looked up at him, and he saw something new in her violet eyes. The constant vigilance was softening, replaced by trust and something deeper. Is that why you keep looking at me the way you do? Heat flooded Marcus's face. I'm sorry if I've made you uncomfortable. You haven't, she said, setting the flower aside and moving closer. When you look at me, I feel seen in a way I never have before. On Nexira, we were observed, evaluated, judged, but you look at me like I matter. You do matter, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Zara reached up and traced the line of his jaw with her fingertips. Her touch was feather-light, but sent electricity through his entire body. These feelings you've awakened in me, they're overwhelming. My people would call it corruption, but it feels like awakening from a long sleep. Marcus caught her hand and pressed it against his cheek. What do you feel right now? My heart beats faster when you're near. My skin feels hypersensitive to your presence. There's a warmth that starts in my chest and spreads through my entire body when you smile. She paused, studying his face. And there's something else, something that makes me want to be closer to you. That's desire, Marcus said softly. She repeated, as if tasting the word. On Nixira, such feelings are suppressed through chemical treatments and mental conditioning. But here with you, they grow stronger each day. She leaned forward until their foreheads touched. Marcus could feel the cool whisper of her breath against his lips, see the flecks of starlight in her violet eyes. Marcus, I want to understand what it means to truly connect with another being. Zara, he whispered, his hands finding her waist. Once we cross this line, there's no going back. I don't want to go back, she said, her voice fierce with newfound determination. I've spent my entire life following rules that denied my very nature. With you, I feel alive for the first time. Their lips met in a kiss that was gentle at first. Exploratory, Zara gasped against his mouth, as new sensations flooded through her. Marcus deepened the kiss, and she responded with surprising passion. Her arms winding around his neck. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Zara's eyes were wide with wonder and something like hunger. Is it always like that? She asked, her voice husky. When it's right, Marcus said, stroking her silver hair. When it's real, she pressed closer, and he could feel the rapid beating of her heart against his chest. I understand now why the Council fears this so much. It's connection. It's more powerful than any weapon. Marcus trailed kisses along her neck, marveling at the way she shivered at his touch. Her skin tasted like starlight and promises. They're afraid because love makes people willing to fight for something beyond themselves. Like you fought the storm to save me, she said, tilting her head to give him better access. Like you're fighting everything you were taught to be with. Me, he replied. Zara pulled back to look at him, her eyes blazing with emotion. I love you, Marcus Kane. I don't fully understand what that means, but I know it's true. I love you too, he said, the words coming easier than he had expected. More than I thought possible. She kissed him again, this time with the passion of someone embracing their true nature for the first time. As they lost themselves in each other, neither noticed the proximity alarms beginning to sound in the distance. The harsh blare of proximity. Alarms shattered the peaceful morning. Marcus bolted upright in bed, instantly alert, while Zara moved with predatory grace to the nearest viewport. Her expression hardened as she gazed into space. They found me, she said, her voice cold as starlight. Marcus joined her at the window, following her gaze to the sleek, angular ship approaching their station. It looked like a blade designed for cutting through space itself, its dark hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Who found you? He asked, though he already dreaded the answer. A hunter. Their elite trackers sent to retrieve exiles and criminals? Zara's hands clenched into fists. His name is Crix. We trained together before my exile. Communications. A ray crackled to life, and a harsh voice filled the room. The words were in Zara's language, but the tone was unmistakably threatening. Zara translated with obvious reluctance. He says he's here to collect the traitor Zara of the 5th Legion. He demands I surrender myself, or he will destroy this station and everyone on it. Marcus felt ice form in his veins. How long do we have? Not long. Crix was always efficient. She turned to him and he saw the warrior she had been trained to be emerging in her posture and expression. It's Marcus. You have to leave. Let's take an escape pod and get as far away as possible. Like hell, he said, moving to the weapons locker. This is my station, and you're under my protection. You don't understand, Zara said, grabbing his arm. Crix isn't just a hunter. He's enhanced, modified for combat. His reflexes are 3 times faster than a normal Nexari. His strength is augmented, and he feels no pain or fear. Marcus pulled on his combat armor, a relic from his military days before he became a salvager. Then we'll have to be smarter than him. The station shuddered as Crix's ship docked forcefully with the main airlock. Emergency lights bathed everything in red as the hull breach alarms joined the proximity warnings. Zara moved with fluid grace, grabbing weapons from Marcus's cache with practiced ease. "There's something else you need to know," she said as they took positions near the airlock. "The real reason I was exiled wasn't just for loving Thane." "What do you mean?" Marcus asked, checking his rifle's charge. "I'm not just Nexari. I'm a hybrid." Her skin began to shimmer, taking on a more metallic sheen. "My mother was from an ancient race called the Veil-Touched. We can manipulate energy fields, bend light, even phase through solid matter for short periods." The airlock exploded inward, and through the smoke stepped a figure that made Marcus's blood run cold. Crix stood 7 feet tall, his body a mixture of organic tissue and mechanical enhancements. Red lights glowed where his eyes should be, and razor-sharp claws extended from his fingertips. "Zara," Crix said in accented English, his voice like grinding metal. "You've learned the inferior species language. How, ... degrading." "Hello, Crix," Zara replied, her voice steady despite the danger. "Still the Council's faithful dog, I see." Crix's head turned toward Marcus with mechanical precision. "And this must be the human who has corrupted you further." "Oh no, the Council will be interested to study his remains." "I'm mice." "You'll have to go through me first," Marcus said, raising his weapon. Crix laughed to sound like breaking glass. Ledley the hunter moved with inhuman speed, but Zara was faster. She stepped between them, her body flickering as she phased partially out of reality. Crix's claws passed through empty air where she had been standing. "Your abilities are stronger," Crix noted with approval. "Excellent. The Council will be pleased to harness your hybrid nature properly this time." "I'll never go back," Zara snarled, energy crackling around her hands. The battle erupted in earnest. Marcus dove for cover as energy blasts and projectiles filled the air. Zara moved like liquid light, appearing and disappearing as she struck at Crix from impossible angles. But the hunter was relentless, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to predict and counter most of her attacks. "You cannot win," Hybrid Crix taunted as his claws raked across Zara's arm, drawing purple blood. "I know all your moves. Help train." "You remember?" Marcus saw his opportunity and fired, his rifle's blast catching Crix in the shoulder. The hunter stumbled but didn't fall, his mechanical parts sparking as they automatically began repairs. "Persistent," Crix said, turning his glowing gaze on Marcus. "But ultimately futile." As Crix advanced on Marcus, Zara's scream of rage echoed through the station. Kah! Her body erupted with brilliant light, and for the first time since arriving, Crix showed something like concern. "Impossible," he whispered. "You're manifesting the full Veil-Touched abilities? The emotional catalyst? ... Love," Zara said, her voice carrying harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. "Something you're precious. Council will never understand." The real battle was just beginning. Energy coursed through Zara's body like liquid starlight as her hybrid nature fully awakened. The air around her shimmered with barely contained power, and her violet eyes now blazed with inner fire. Marcus had never seen anything so beautiful. Or terrifying. Crix backed away for the first time since his arrival. His mechanical enhancements worry as they recalibrated to assess this new threat level. "The Council said your abilities were suppressed. This level of manifestation should be impossible." "The Council was wrong about many things," Zara said, advancing on the hunter. Her voice carried harmonics that made the station's hull vibrate. "They thought love made us weak. But it's made me stronger than I ever imagined." Marcus watched in awe as Zara began to phase in and out of reality, becoming more energy than matter. She struck at Crix with devastating precision, her attacks bypassing his armor and striking directly at his mechanical components. Sparks flew, as his enhancements began to fail one by one. But Crix was far from defeated. With a roar of rage, he activated a device on his chest that emitted a high-pitched whine. Zara screamed and solidified, her energy form disrupting as the device sent targeted vibrations through her nervous system. Hybrid suppression field, Crix explained, as Zara collapsed, convulsing. Standard equipment for hunting your kind. Your emotional awakening is impressive, but the Council has prepared for every contingency. Marcus didn't hesitate. Himself at Crix, tackling the massive hunter around the waist, they crashed into the station's main console, sparks flying as systems overloaded. Crix backhanded Marcus across the room, but the impact had damaged the suppression device. Zara struggled to her feet, her abilities flickering back to life. Marcus, the device on his chest. I need you to distract him while I recover fully. You're asking him to die for you? Crix sneered. How typically selfish of the inferior species. No, Marcus said, climbing to his feet despite his injuries. I'm choosing to fight for what I love. Something you'll never understand. He charged again, this time with more strategy. Marcus had spent years in combat before becoming a salvager, and he used every trick he knew. He feinted left, then rolled right, using the station's low gravity to his advantage. His combat knife found gaps in Crix's armor, drawing the synthetic blood that flowed through the hunter's hybrid circulatory system. Crix snarled as Marcus's blade found a critical joint. You're just human. Just human, Marcus agreed, dodging another swipe of those razor claws. But I'm fighting for love, and that makes me more dangerous than any enhancement. Zara's power was building again, her form becoming increasingly translucent as she prepared for a final assault. The station's lights flickered as she drew energy from every available source. Crix, she called out, her voice now carrying the harmonic frequencies of her veil-touched heritage. You want to know why the Council really sent you after me? Hunter paused, Marcus momentarily forgotten. To retrieve a valuable hybrid asset? No, Zara said, her form blazing with contained starlight, because they're afraid that others will see what I've discovered. That love doesn't make us. Weak makes us transcendent. She moved faster than thought, her energy form flowing around Crix like liquid lightning. Her touch disrupted his mechanical components, while her hybrid abilities tore at his organic tissue. The hunter's roar of pain echoed through the station. As his enhancements failed catastrophically, "This is impossible," he gasped, as his systems shut down one by one. The Council's conditioning is absolute. No Nexari can break free of their mental programming. I'm not just Nexari, Zara said, her form solidifying as she stood over the fallen hunter. And I'm not just veil-touched. I'm something new. Something they never planned for. Crix's red eyes dimmed as his power sources failed. The Council ... will send others ... Let them come, Zara said firmly. They'll find the same thing you did. Love is stronger than fear, and connection is more powerful than control. As Crix's systems finally shut down completely, silence returned to the station. Marcus limped over to Zara, who caught him as his injuries made themselves known. Is he dead? Marcus asked, breathing heavily. No, but he'll be unconscious for hours. It's long enough for us to be far away. Zara supported his weight as she led him toward the medical bay.
Marcus, we can't stay here. They'll send more hunters, and next time they'll be prepared for my abilities. Then
we leave, he said simply. Together. Zara stopped walking and turned to face him. You'd abandon your home, your life, to run with me? Marcus cupped her face in his hands, marveling at the warmth that now flowed beneath her skin. Her abilities had changed her, but she was still the woman who had awakened his heart. This station was never my home, he said. It was just a place. I was hiding. You've shown me that hiding isn't living. Wherever we go together, that's where I belong. Zara's eyes filled with tears, another human emotion she had learned to embrace. I love you, Marcus Kane, and I promise you, we'll find a place where we can be free to love without fear. I know we will, he said, kissing her forehead. After all, we've already proven that love can conquer anything. They prepared to leave. The station together, launching into the vast unknown of space, both knew that their greatest adventures lay ahead. They had found something worth fighting for, worth dying for, worth living for, and together, they would face whatever the universe had in store for them. Behind them, the station drifted silent and empty, save for one unconscious hunter who would awaken to find that love had indeed conquered all. The end.